Welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is TJ Hilscher. Now, TJ is the owner of HG Home Inspections. How are you doing, TJ?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself, Michelle?
Wonderful. I am so glad that you are with us today. Now, TJ continues to be a wealth of knowledge, as our other guests. I mean, on this show, we have professionals that know their business and provide the knowledge and teaching us different aspects of the real estate industry. Now, today we're going to be talking about the importance of pre-listing home inspections. Yes, I did say that. Pre-listing home inspections. Now, TJ, talk to us a little bit about that and why it's important. But also, you know what? Let's take a step back because I did start the show today with a courage to fail. And this kind of speaks to that with the pre-listing, right?
Absolutely.
So, TJ, share with us the courage to fail and what that looks like for you inside of your business.
You know, we'll put the pre-listing inspections on the back burner for just one moment. When I started in the business, home inspection was a little different back then, and there weren't a lot of big teams in Houston. There was a couple that people have heard of, some of my competitors, but not many. And most of us were on our own. And when you talk about courage to fail, my second inspection out of school, fresh, new inspector, have nobody to call to ask any questions. Turns out to be basically a 13,000 square foot home on Lake Conroe. New construction, the home had every feature you could possibly imagine in a home, including panic rooms. It had several hidden passageways. It was, well, it was actually the courage to fail because I took it on and I went out there and I did the inspection. And it was actually for the builder. Some of his contractors had bailed on him and he wanted to know what was left on it. A year later, I had an opportunity to inspect the same home. Went back in and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what this inspection report looks like compared to the way they are today. My quality's gotten so much better. I'm such a better inspector. And then I open the report up and I look at it and I realize I did a pretty good job the first time. So since then, I've inspected the home one more time. And it tends to be the home that keeps on giving. I keep getting called back to inspect the same home every couple of years for some reason.
Well, you know it.
I know the home very well now.
You
I
know
feel like it's a second home.
Well, thank you for sharing that because again, the courage to fail is really doing something that's super scary. And if you're fresh right out of inspection, getting your degree or inspection certification, like that had to have been a scary moment.
Oh, yes. Very scary.
Right? So have the courage to fail, step through those, work through fear, right? False evidence appearing real. We've all heard that. All right. So the topic at hand, importance of pre-listing home inspections. Tell us why it's so important.
Well, first of all, I know that makes your skin crawl. As a real estate agent, and I can say I've been a real estate agent for 23 years. I'm still licensed, but I don't do my own transactions. I let the realtors deal with real estate transactions on that end. I help with the home inspection part of it. So that's really my expertise. But over the last couple of years, we've seen a very, very big uptick in pre-listing inspections. And particularly, I had one agent that's very successful. He does a lot of pre-listing inspections. And he and I had a chance to talk. And I told him, I said, I really want to see more people do these. He said, oh my gosh, TJ, the problem is most people look at it totally different than I do. And I said, well, of course, how so? Explain. He said, well, when I get a pre-listing inspection, I know your company will do the inspection, give the report to us. We can correct any problems we see on the report that are easy and simple fixes. You'll come back out for a small fee, take those things off the report, and then we've got a report that shows the true condition of the home. And I said, okay. And he said, what we do is we post that with the listing on MLS, and that way we have disclosed everything about the home. And I said, well, what made you start doing this? And his answer was simple. He said, I had a lady that was really in a bind that needed to sell her home. And she gave me her bottom line, and we accepted a bottom line offer. And when they got it inspected, it needed $30,000 worth of work. And they were well beneath the point where they could accept an offer and do $30,000 worth of work. So at that point, he started doing pre-listing inspections. And what he told me is when people put in an offer and it says as is, he lets them know, hey, did you look at the inspection report that we provided? Yes. Okay, so everything on that inspection report had been disclosed already. So he felt like he was much more comfortable knowing where the bottom line was without any surprises. So that really changed the way I thought about pre-listing inspections, and it made me really get a nice story to share with other realtors, other real estate professionals, that it's really eye-opening. And it puts you in a whole different position of not being scared of what's going to be on the inspection report. A lot of realtors are, I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear it. But in this case, they know exactly what they're selling. The sellers feel confident in saying, yes, I'll take that offer for 10,000 more or 10,000 less, either way. But they know what they have. Now, if you take 10 inspectors and you have all 10 of them inspect the exact same home, you're going to get 10 different inspection reports. But the idea of a pre-listing inspection is to find the big ticket items. The ACs, the roofs, the water heaters that are about to start leaking water, things like that, so that they can either address them or disclose them. So that is really probably the biggest gem that I've found that most realtors run from. I mean, literally, when I say the word pre-listing inspection in a room full of realtors, they scurry like you just turned on the light at Joe's apartment. Anyway, so, but when they sit down and listen to it and really hear the logic behind it and what frustrations it can, not only them, but it can save their clients from going through, they really start to warm up to the idea. And we've seen an increase of about 20% in pre-listing inspections just in the last 6 months as we started kind of pushing them more and more.
Well, sharing that with us, and there is an aspect. I mean, no one's going to deny it. No listing agent is going to deny the fact about the pre-listing, and because you're going off of what we are being based off of, or what our conversation is inside with the seller and the seller's knowledge of what is on the property. That's the seller's disclosure. And it can be scary, admittedly, and I think that's what it really steps into. Is like, because we don't know the condition of the property, we only know what the seller's telling us. We don't know what's going to come across that inspection, and then there's a possibility of renegotiation for repairs, right? A seller's contribution, request for repairs to be completed, and that can kill a deal. I mean, they can say no to that. So the pre-listing home inspection, I can see how it is beneficial because, as you were saying, TJ, it is you see, you know what it is. You have an opportunity to fix those items, be it safety issues, and be able to disclose that. So when the buyer comes in, they're gonna know. The realtor is gonna see what's needed. The buyer's gonna know what's needed, and to be able to really provide that offer price that's applicable to that listing or list price or to the disclosure. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the most interesting things I find about it is a lot of times after the buyer reads the report and they look it over, they call our company to come back out and inspect it again, which we're glad to do. We'll come out and inspect that home as many times. I mean, we've inspected the same home 3 times for 3 different buyers in the same month. But for them to look at the inspection report we just did for the seller and ask us to come out and do one for them, I find that kind of comical, actually. But we'll gladly do it because we're representing them at that point, not the seller.
Exactly. Well, that was kind of my point. I was letting you finish that statement because when you are stepping into that space, you are representing the other party, the buyer, and you have a team of 20. So, maybe it's Joe that inspects, and then, Bill inspects it as from the buyer's perspective. So you have the space to really create a neutral ground when you're completing those inspections and over again.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that is one of the things I try to do, is go ahead and send out a different inspector with a different set of eyes. Because, like I said, 10 inspectors, 10 different reports. Of course, if those are in the public records on MLS, the other inspectors sometimes will go ahead and just glance at the report, but we don't put a lot of weight in it. We want to go out there with fresh eyes, and give the best report we can. So if he happens to find something totally different, we're going to do that. So it makes both sides feel very comfortable that we send out different inspectors. So
yeah, I know he does that. That's why I mentioned that. Because he has the team and he has the wherewithal to make that happen. So what else about pre-listing? It's it's beneficial for the seller. It is scary to hear that and have that conversation. I see the benefit behind it. So realtors that are watching, consider it, call TJ, have a conversation. And it's being transparent, right? Would you agree it's being transparent?
I think it's the most transparent way you can possibly be, and it really helps on both sides, because it helps with the comfort of the seller not being scared about the inspection report coming their way, and the buyer, they feel like they can make an offer with more confidence as well. The nice thing is too, on our software, it's designed for, we have that builder repair request list that I'm sure you're familiar with. It's a function on our software where you can go through your report and you can look at every deficiency and you can decide if you want to repair it or whatnot. But it actually will separate the deficiencies and into a repair list. So the seller can use that same function and go down it and say, oh, these cosmetic things I'm definitely going to fix. I don't want any of that on my report. And, the roof, maybe not. We're just going to disclose it, maybe give them a roofing allowance, or just know that we don't have that much room to wiggle and move forward, So that function really makes it quick. They can make a quick list for their contractor. They can email it over to them. The contractor can say, if they don't have a contractor, we know people, people, real estate agents know people, and they can get a quick estimate, get the guys out there to do it before the listing photos or even after, and we'll come back out and take all those things off the report and move on. So I think it's probably one of the most powerful things that listing agents do not do out of fear. It's the fear that it truly is the fear, and not wanting to know and not wanting to be responsible for not disclosing. Well, guess what? If you disclose everything that you possibly know about the property, nobody can come back later and say, hey, you knew something you didn't disclose, or you didn't represent us the best you could because you didn't want to know what was on the inspection report. It avoids a lot of potential problems in the future.
That's true, because when you're listing a property, again, it's based off of the knowledge that your seller provides you, and that's where we get our information, is from the seller and the seller's disclosure. And we ask a lot of questions that ultimately it's the seller that knows, or maybe the seller doesn't even know it exists. That's the beauty of the inspections. So when something happens and it's after close and something pops up, it truly can be just the mere fact of no one knew, and you hope the inspection covers that, but it's not everything. I mean, you don't inspect what's inside the walls.
Exactly. You only know what you can see,
right.
And along with that, Michelle, if you haven't been in your attic in the last 5 to 7 years, you probably should get a home inspection whether you're selling your house or not. And a lot of people don't realize that, but having a home health check every 5 to 7 years, especially if you have parents that are getting elderly that don't get up in their attics as much, don't know what, it's worth the $300 to $500 to $600 to have somebody come out, give you a report of the condition of your home, so you know exactly the condition of your home, and that can help you later too. If there's a natural disaster, you have a document that shows the condition of your home. And it's always a good idea, because you can avoid very costly things that are simple fixes. AC pans that overflow. we catch those all the time. And if you haven't been in your attic in 5 years and you got a rusted out pan, you have no idea until your ceiling caves in and you got a $5,000 problem that could have been fixed for $500. So, in addition to the pre-listing, I think the home health check is something that everybody should embrace, because the more you know about your home, the better you're going to take care of it.
Yeah, and you can do the repairs that are needed and keep it up to date, right? It's part of home ownership maintenance. Annual maintenance is part of your budget, or it should be part of your budget. And I like the home health check because all of us, I mean, many of us have elderly parents or older parents or grandparents, and you visit them once a month, twice a month, once every 6 months. Do you know what's really going on with the home, and really do they even realize what possibly may be in that attic? So TJ, thank you again for being with us. We really do appreciate you and your knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to add one thing.
What is that?
How many times have you gone to your grandmother's house and they go, "Don't use that bathroom"?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Perfect example.
There
I'm
you-
sorry, I just had to put that in. But thank you for having me, Michelle.
Thank you.
And it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Everyone, we'll be right back after this commercial break.